Let me ask you something. You wake up one morning and there's a box on your doorstep. No return address, no note. Inside is a device you've never seen before. You don't know what it does, you don't know how it works. But over the next 50 years, the smartest people on the planet reverse engineer it, and it changes everything. Now here's the real question. Was it a gift? A mistake? Or did someone leave it there on purpose? Because some scientists, serious ones with serious credentials, think that's basically what happened, multiple times throughout human history. Buckle up. Let's start with what we already know. Right now, on Earth, technology that exists in real laboratories that scientists will openly admit that they don't fully understand. First, metamaterials. A metamaterial is a material that does not exist anywhere in nature. We had to build it ourselves, engineer it atom by atom, and what it can do should be physically impossible. It can bend light, not reflect it, not absorb it, bend it around an object, so that object becomes invisible. An actual, working, real-life invisibility cloak exists right now in a research facility. You can't see it. And that's just one application. Metamaterials can also manipulate sound waves, heat, and potentially gravity. We are barely scratching the surface of what they can do, which is either thrilling or terrifying depending on how much you trust people running the labs. Next, room temperature superconductors. Here's a problem that has haunted physics for over a century. When electricity travels through a wire, it loses energy as heat. Every single time. Your phone charger gets warm, power lines hum, entire power plants exist just to compensate for the energy we waste moving electricity from one place to another. A superconductor fixes that. It conducts electricity with zero resistance, zero loss, pure, perfect, lossless power transfer. The catch? Until recently, superconductors only worked at temperatures close to absolute zero, colder than outer space, which makes them basically useless for everyday applications. But in the last few years, labs have been creeping closer and closer to room temperature superconductivity, and if we crack it fully, we're talking about trains that levitate and travel at airplane speeds, power grids that waste nothing, engines that run indefinitely. We're almost there, which raises that obvious question, why now? Why, after 100 years of trying, are we suddenly almost there? Okay, let's talk about the thing everyone came here for. UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. That's the government new official term because apparently UFO got too associated with the guys in tinfoil hats, so they rebranded. Classic government move. In 2017, United States Navy declassified 3 videos taken by fighter pilots during training exercises. The objects in those videos do things that no aircraft built by any country on Earth can do. We're talking instantaneous acceleration from a dead stop. No heat signature, no exhaust trail, no visible propulsion system of any kind, moving from the air into the water, back out again without slowing down. Traveling at speeds that would liquefy a human being from the G-forces alone, with no G-forces detected. The pilots who filmed these weren't rookies. They were experienced naval aviators with thousands of flight hours. People professionally trained to identify every aircraft that exists, and they came back from those flights shaken. One of them, Commander David Fravor, described an object that looked like a white tic-tac. No wings, no exhaust, just a smooth white shape with what he described as, and these are his words, intent, like it knew it was being watched. Then there's Luis Elizondo, former career intelligence officer, ran a classified Pentagon program called AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, whose entire job was studying these objects. He resigned in 2017 and went public, said the program had documented craft with performance characteristics that exceeded anything in the U.S. arsenal, or any other country's arsenal, by at least 100 years. 100 years ahead of our best technology. That's not a gap. That's a different species of problem entirely. So let's think through what technology capable of interstellar travel would actually have to look like. To get from our solar system to even the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, just 4.2 light years away, traveling at the speed of our fastest spacecraft, the Voyager probe, would take approximately 73,000 years. So clearly, speed isn't the answer, at least not conventional speed. Option 1. Go really, really fast, a significant fraction of the speed of light. This sounds reasonable until you do the math. At those speeds, a single grain of sand, a single grain, collides with your ship with the kinetic energy equivalent of a nuclear bomb. Space is not empty. It is full of dust, gas, and microparticles, traveling at realistic speeds through space as we know it, basically flying a paper airplane into a machine gun. So option 2, cheat. Don't move through space. Move space itself. This sounds like pure science fiction. It is not. In 1994, a scientist named Miguel Almaguer published a paper showing that Einstein's own equations, the equations that govern how space and time work, technically allow for something called a warp bubble. Here's how it works. Instead of accelerating your ship, you compress space-time in front of you and expand it behind you. The ship itself doesn't move at all. It sits completely still inside a bubble, but the bubble and everything inside it gets carried forward as space reshapes around it. You could cross the galaxy without ever technically breaking the speed of light because you never actually traveled through space. Space traveled around you. The catch, and there always is a catch, is that it requires exotic matter with negative mass, stuff that produces gravity in reverse. But we have observed that this at the quantum level in a phenomenon called the Casimir effect, but scaling it up to warp bubble size is a problem we have not solved. Yet. Here's what keeps physicists up at night. 50 years ago, metamaterials were theoretically impossible. Room temperature superconductors were theoretically impossible. Negative energy densities were theoretically impossible. Every few decades, we discover that impossible just meant we hadn't figured it out yet. August 15th, 1977, Delaware, Ohio. A volunteer researcher named Jerry Emin is sitting at a desk going through printouts from the Big Ear to radio telescope at Ohio State University. His job is to scan pages of data for anything unusual. Most days there's nothing. Static, noise, the hiss of the universe doing nothing in particular. Then he sees it. A signal lasting 72 seconds, originating from deep space in the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, broadcasting on a frequency of 1,420 megahertz, which is the exact frequency scientists had long theorized an intelligent civilization would use to communicate, because it's natural emission frequency of hydrogen, the most common element in the universe. The signal matched every single characteristic that SETI researchers hoping to find. The intensity, the frequency, the duration, the directionality, everything. Emin picked up a red pen and circled it. He wrote one word in the margin. The WOW signal, as it became known, has never been explained. It has never been heard again, despite decades of follow-up observations with increasingly powerful equipment. It came from a direction in space with no other stars or planets capable of generating it naturally. To this day, it remains the single most compelling candidate for extraterrestrial contact in the entire history of scientific observation. Nobody knows what it was. Alright, last thing. If they exist, and if they visited, what do they actually want? Option A, pure curiosity. They're studying us the way we study animals in the wild, observing, cataloging, occasionally getting a little too close because we do something interesting. Option B, they've evolved for a long time, and we have the receipts. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built to tolerance so precise that modern laser cutting machinery struggles to replicate them. Using copper tools and manpower, the blocks weigh up to 80 tons. Some of them were quarried 500 miles away. The structure is aligned to true north with an accuracy of 0.05 degrees. We've never fully explained how it was done, not satisfactorily, not in a way that accounts for all of it. Option C, they're not visiting at all. They're residents, have been for a very long time, watching things develop, occasionally nudging the timeline when we get too stuck, from somewhere extremely comfortable and extremely hidden. None of those options is weirder than the universe being 13.8 billion years old and us being the only ones in it. That's the strangest option of all. The universe has been around for 13.8 billion years. Earth showed up 4.5 billion years ago. Modern humans have existed for about 300,000 years. If even one other civilization got a 1 million year head start on us, we wouldn't recognize their technology as technology. It would look like rocks arranged in a pattern. It would look like a signal that doesn't repeat. It would look like a craft that moves with intent and then disappears into the ocean. It would just look like something we couldn't explain. See you next time.